So we were discussing last class about cathode ray tubes. So just quick recap about what is cathode ray tube. So it is the first display device which was discovered. This one is the cathode ray tube. This big computer setup you have, this is going to be your cathode ray tube. And we have seen the properties of how a cathode ray tube works. You have a cathode electron gun, and electrons, when they are coming with high velocity, they're deflected by the deflection yoke by applying a magnetic field, and they go and hit the phosphor screen, and there you can see the illumination. So that is how the thing is working, and you can have different electron guns for your basic colors RGB, and you can get the required color combination on the screen. And we have seen the different spectral distribution for red, green, and blue. The red is going to dominate, and it is going to have two peaks around 620 and 700 nanometers, whereas blue and green have average peaks around 450 and 550 nanometers respectively. So this is the basic of your CRT. Then we have gamma encoding and decoding. So when you capture the image from the camera, immediately before it is stored, gamma encoding is done, and when it is transferred over the internet, and when it is downloaded the receiving end, you will have gamma decoding happening, and finally you can see the image what you are downloaded in your mobile phone. And gamma correction, this is called as gamma correction. So the central line indicates a linear gamma equal to one correction, and upper line indicates the encoding, and lower line indicates the decoding process. Once you encode and decode, you should get back your original image. That is the constraint we have. And for different television systems, we have seen what is the gamma value, is acceptable gamma value. So that is, and then we have seen the different yeah, display calibration matrix. Then we have this spectral response and the actual gamma correction formula, including the brightness and contrast. So all these things are available. Okay, now we'll go to flat panel displays. The flat panel display, we have two major technologies playing a good role in flat panel display. One is the like LCD technology, it is liquid crystal display, and second one is LED technology, light emitting diode, and gas plasma is also available nowadays. So LCD technology works on blocking light rather than creating it. LED is going to emit light. It is going to produce light by the electrons and holes are going to recombine and produce light, right? But here in LCD, I am not going to produce light, but I am going to block the light. So this blocking of light requires less energy and it emits less radiation. But when LED and plasma, you are lighting up screen position based on voltage grid sections, requires more energy. LED is a diode, right? So it needs forward biasing. It needs a constant DC biasing for emitting light continuously. So the energy requirement is more for the LED and gas plasma placed displays. But LED light is very, very brighter compared to the LCD displays. So in LCD, remember, we are not creating light or we are not producing light. We are blocking light, and it requires less energy and it emits less radiation. But in LED light emitting area, we are producing light, and for light production, you need constant amount of voltage, and hence it requires more amount of energy. So this is a simple example of your LED display monitor. So you see a flat panel. You don't in CRTs. You have this big box at the back, right? So that is not there for LCD and LED. It looks very compact and it has a very flat back. That's why it is even transportable. You can carry it portable. You can carry it wherever you want. It is not that much heavy also. Now we'll see the LCD display, the liquid crystal display. It is very predominantly found in your calculators or hand gadgets, thermometer, and other equipment where the blocking of light principle is going to be used. So it was discovered in 1888 by Austrian botanist Frederick Geister. So he made the first LCD experiment in 1968. So LCD crystals are used to make thermometers and mood rings because heat changes absorbent properties. So it is based on blocking light, right? So when they are exploiting the property of heat changing absorbance properties. So predominantly these LCD crystals are used for making thermometers and mood rings. These are the mood rings. So if you wear them, definitely it will calm down you. And thermometers. So if you place this strip on your neck, you see this person has placed. If you place this strip on your neck, it will automatically display the temperature of your body. It will display in the LCD screen. And LCDs are very complex and organic molecules. So they are not like your simple molecule like silicon or germanium. They are complex organic molecules, and they are fluid characteristics of liquid and the molecular orientation or other properties of solid. So if you consider them as liquid, you have to consider their fluid characteristics. And if we are going to model them as a solid, then you have to see the orientation properties of them. So they fit into both. So they can be liquid or solid. So if they are considered to be a liquid crystals, as the name is given, liquid crystal display, the fluid properties all has to be considered. The viscosity, velocity, and other properties have to be considered. If the LCD is going to be considered to be a solid, consist of solid molecules, then you have to consider the orientation property, because orientation plays a very important role in all the LCD displays. So it exhibits all properties like electric, magnetic, and optical anisotropical properties. So many different types of LCD configurations are available. So they are uh, they are like pneumatic materials arranged in a twisted configuration for most common for displays. So the three common cases of LCD are shown here. First one is smectic, second one is pneumatic, and third one is cholesteric. So these are the three common LC phases, liquid crystal phases, and the twisted pneumatic. So this one is going to be the most commonly used mechanism for displays. So even though the three phases are available, the pneumatic phase I'm going to use it predominantly for the applications in displays for wherever display devices are required. So I'm going to use the pneumatic phase of the LC liquid crystal display. So you can see the images which are the liquid crystal images, pneumatic. This one is pneumatic. So this is cholesteric oily streaks. So these are actually inside the crystals. These are actually inside how the molecules are arranged. Smectic B mosaic type of LCD. Smectic B is also mosaic, even more zoomed in version. Smectic B focal conical fans, and this one is the crystals. Okay, and this one, first one is Smectic A batonets, Smectic A focal conical fans, and we have pneumatic and cholesteric oily streak. So these are the zoomed version of what is there inside all these liquid crystals. So we have told that we have three types of displays, right? Collect smectic, pneumatic, and cholesteric. We are going to stick with pneumatic, but we are just seeing how the crystals will look inside each of them. So we have one example for pneumatic. For cholesteric, we have one. For smectic A, we have one type batonets. Smectic A, again, we have focal conical fans. And here, smectic B, we have mosaic pattern. Smectic B mosaic, another pattern. Here we have smectic B focal conic fans and the crystals. So all the pictures are taken by this scientist, and you can visit this website and you can see even more different configuration photos of your liquid crystal displays. Okay, so next one is LCD polarization. So very important property of the liquid crystals is they are going to produce a change in orientation when you are going to polarize them. So when you are going to place the crystals between two polarizing plates, so when nothing is applied, they will be in their natural position. It is called as off state. When you are going to apply a field, when you are going to apply a field in this direction, the the crystals will be oriented along the field. Okay, that is going to be called as your on state. So very simple. The LCD works on polarization only. The polarization, by polarization, we make the crystals to exhibit either one among the two states called as off state and on state. So if nothing happens, if no field is applied, the crystals will be randomly oriented in their own direction. If a compelling force or a twisting force is applied, that this will also change the orientation of crystals which are present along your the field. So those crystals, the crystals will be oriented along the field. They will be changing their direction to and slightly bend towards the field. But here you see they are standing straight. Okay, so you have two states, off state and on state. So off state represents the binary 0, on state represents binary 1. Okay, so they are affected by electric current. That's what I say. So when you give any compelling force, twisted pneumatics, when you it is called as TN, it is a kind of pneumatic liquid crystal, is naturally twisted. Applying electric current will untwist it. Okay, amount of untwisting depends on the current's voltage. So okay, so normal thing, normal crystals will twist upon applying current, but twisted pneumatics already they are twisted by nature, right? So if you apply electric current, it will untwist it. They will become straight. So how much untwisting happens is proportional to the amount of current or voltage applied to the particular amount of current or voltage applied to the particular amount to the particular crystal. Okay, so that is what is logic here. So understand that whenever we have normal liquid crystals, they are being straight and they twist upon applying current. But in the twisted pneumatics work in the reverse way. They are already twisted by nature. So when you apply current, they will lead to untwisting or making them straight. The amount of untwisting depends on the current's voltage. Okay, that is how this twisted pneumatics liquid crystal display is working. So LCD voltage control. So this is the simple diagram which you can easily understand. So I'm just minimizing it for the complete view. So you see here. So I'm going to have no voltage here. So I'm not going to apply any voltage here. And voltage is on. When I'm going to apply a voltage, what happens? So when I'm not going to any apply, when I'm not going to apply any voltage, you have light passing through. So the crystals are transparent. So you have several sheets, you have a polarizer, you have a glass, you have an ITO, you have polymer. Below that, you have all these liquid crystals. You have again polymer, the reverse polymer, ITO, glass, and polarizer. And I told you these we are going to use twisted pneumatics. So see the crystals are twisted. So the crystals are twisted. I am not applying any current or voltage. So I am going to leave it open so that the crystals will be completely transparent and they will allow whatever light which is falling on them will be completely transparent and allowed to pass through. So see that is what is given here. Voltage field is off. V is equal to 0. So when the voltage field is off, the light is allowed to pass through. But when I am going to apply a particular voltage up to the threshold voltage, all these twisted pneumatics will be untwisted. So when they are untwisted, they block the passage of light. So the thing becomes completely opaque. It will not allow it will reflect the light back. Or I can say it will not permit the flow of light into the liquid crystal. Okay, it is the flow of light inside the liquid crystal is permitted. It's not permitted when I'm going to apply a particular amount of voltage or current. That is how the principle of LCD is there. So remember, we are considering a twisted pneumatic, so the crystals are twisted, and when no voltage is applied, whatever light falling on the crystal will be completely going inside, or I can say the crystal becomes transparent. When I'm going to apply a particular voltage, because of this voltage, all the crystals will be untwisted and they will be aligning along the voltage. So because of that, what happens? This crystal becomes opaque and no light will be entering into the crystal. So the light which is entering here will be completely reflected back. Okay, so that is what is the two conditions we have seen here. Voltage field is off, V is equal to 0, and voltage field is on. I'm going to apply above threshold. So between 0 to threshold, this transparency will be there. Above the threshold, the liquid crystal becomes completely opaque. I hope it is clear. An LCD system it's very clear. The same thing, whatever we have seen here, arrangements, we are going to see it for color. So you have a polarizer, you have an RGB color filter array because the image what you want to see is a color image. Okay. And you have a color filter array. You have an array of patches where you have the basic colors R, G, and T. You have a top electrode because you're going to apply voltage. Okay. And surrounding the color array, you will be having the black matrix and you have a glass. Then you have a liquid crystal layer. So you have twisted pneumatic filled liquid crystal layer below this. Then you have thin film transistors. You have glass substrate. Again, you have a polarizer, and then finally the backlight. So the backlight is going to illuminate your picture, okay, which you want to show it in the display. So the normal layers what you have seen here. Okay, the normal layers what you have seen here is for producing a binary zero or one. You can say it's a black and white image. But if you want to use, if you want to display color images, you have to have the RGB array. That is what you see here. We have this RGB array, and the outermost layer of RGB array is a black matrix. Okay, and other things, glass, polarizer, we have seen those things will be there. Glass, polarizer, ITO, polymer, all these will be there. So glass, polarizer, RGB array. Then you have the black matrix and the electrodes for giving the voltage. Then you have the liquid crystal layer. Then you have again glass, then polarizer. Okay. So this is the basic construction of your liquid crystal, and in this substrate you will be having thin film transistors TFTs, and you will be having electrodes. Okay, for applying the voltage. So direct driving versus multiplex driving. So direct driving is you have a 7 segment display, and each segment is connected to voltage or current. That is going to drive your display. So whenever that particular segment is provided current, it will be glowing. Otherwise, it will not be glowing. So that is the example of direct driving. So in direct driving, if you are using two 7 segment displays, totally you will be having 14 connections for which you have to give either high or low. If you give high means that particular segment will glow. If you give low means that particular segment will be not glowing. And multiplex driving means you are going to have a common, you are going to have a matrix arrangement. Okay, and depending on which matrix elements have to be turned on, you will be coding for that. Okay, in direct driving, each element is wired separately, but in multiplex driving, the wires are shared in a form of a matrix. So it will be looking like an n cross n matrix, and in n cross n matrix, you will have n into n elements, right? So you know which element has to be turned on for which particular display. So accordingly, you will be making that value to be 1, or that value will be high, and other values will be 0. 0 is low. So the direct driving 14, if you are using two 7 segment, you need 14 wires. But in multiplex driving, if you are using a two 7 segment, you need just 7 wires are enough to drive the device because the wires are going to be shared. Okay, both the 7 segment displays will be sharing the same wire. Okay, so multiplex. This is the thing for a color array. How the pixels are contained in a color array. You see the RGB color matrix is there. Okay, you see the RGB color matrix is there. So depending on even you have the wire connection, the wire is connected to high voltage, means that particular element will glow. So here you see green, blue is glowing. And here you can see red is glowing. So one connection is for your positive voltage, one connection is for your ground. So all the horizontal top portion is going to be the positive voltage, and all the vertical portion is going to be for your ground. Just like how you have the two terminals of battery, right? Same way. So one end of the electrode should be connected to the old positive voltage, one end should be connected to the ground. So depending on which element is connected to the positive voltage, that starts glowing because of the drive voltage. And definitely ground connection has to be made. The ground connection is not made, current will flow only in a closed path, right? So if the ground connection is not made, the path is not complete, and hence the display will not glow. Next one, passive versus active matrix. A passive matrix supplies the charge to a particular pixel on the display, slow response time, and imprecise voltage control. So active means every pixel will have a switch and a capacitor. So a row is switched on and then charge is sent down a column. So capacitor holds the charge until next cycle. So faster response time and less pixel crosstalk. The active means every element will have an active switch and a capacitor. So if I want to make this pixel to be turned on, I will have a switch and capacitor here. The capacitor will hold the charge. It will be on till the next cycle. So this active matrix is very, very popular and it is going to be also faster. So instantly it is going to glow. See here, you have a switch and a capacitor. So capacitor will store the charge for this display to glow, and the switch will be on till the next cycle comes. So in this cycle, I am displaying 3. After 3, I should display 5 minutes. When the next cycle comes, the switch will be off. And for 5, what all displays have to glow, that will be turned on. The remaining everything will be turned off. So this is your active matrix display. So active matrix will have a pixel. Each square is going to be called as a pixel. Pixel means pixel. Pixel means picture element. The short form of picture element is going to be called as pixel. The short form of this is going to be called as pixel. Okay, so each pixel will have a switch and a capacitor. So depending on the state of the pixel, whether the pixel has to glow or not, you will be charging or discharging a capacitor. So if the switch has to glow, means if the pixel has to glow, means the switch will be turned on, the capacitor will charge, leading to the glowing of this particular pixel. So if this pixel should not glow, means the switch will be off, so the capacitor will be discharged, so there will be no charge in the capacitor. So this pixel will be turned on. Okay, so that is how this active matrix LCD is working. But passive matrix, what's the problem? You have a grid. So you have a grid to supply the power to the each particular display. So you have a centralized grid away from this passive matrix, which is going to supply the charge to the particular pixel. And since you know it is a grid, the control has to come from the grid for display. So it is going to be having slow response time and the imprecise voltage control. Sometimes there is a chance that wrongly the pixels may be glowing. But in active matrix, we don't have that issue because for what pixel should be turned on, it is determined by the switch and the capacitor. So they will take care of turning on or turning off a particular pixel for a displaying. That's what is given here. You see a row is switched on and charge is sent down a column. So capacitor holds the charge until the next cycle. So till the next display command comes from the control unit, this capacitor will be holding the charge. So these all the pixels are considered to be independent. So when they are independent, you will not have any crosstalk, and it is faster in response time also. So passive matrix is very, very slow, and there will be confusion in display also. It sometimes becomes imprecise, but active control is very, very fast, and it can display things very fast, and less crosstalk is there. For example, you see here, if you are having a good laptop, so the laptop will have this. Assume that you have the size of the laptop is 1024 cross 768. This is the dimension of your screen. And into you, so that much pixels are there in your screen. So you have three. The three is for RGN period, green and blue. So totally you will be having 23 lakh 59,296 transistors etched onto the glass. So each transistor, this much 23 lakh transistors are distributed around your display. A problem with the transistor creates a bad pixel. If the transistor is not working, that will create a bad pixel. Most active matrix displays have few bad pixels. So active matrix, there is a chance of having bad pixels, but in passive matrix, you don't have bad pixel because you have a grid control. So there is a chance that most active matrix displays have bad pixels. So when that is as you, the display size is going to go higher and higher, more number of transistors are etched onto the glass, and things become complex to manage because you have to control 23 lakh 59,296 transistors using electronic commands. So things becomes complex, and there is a chance of creation of what is called as the bad pixel. Okay. Then how we are going to arrange the colors for displaying? So what is the color array organization options? What is the options available? One is your simple stripe type. So in stripe type, all the columns you are going to give alternate. All the columns will have same color. So column one will have red, column two will have green, column three will have blue. This pattern is going to repeat RGB, 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 and you see, I'm going to make it column wise only. So the array design is simple, fabrication is simple, driving circuit is simple, but the color mix is poor or the response is going to be poor. So because I do, if I want to mix R and B, they are not near. If I want to mix the colors to get different combination means that is not possible in a faster way. Okay, that is not possible in a faster way. So the color mixing is poor and the resolution is also very, very low. You get a low resolution image. Next one is mosaic. You know, mosaic is a pattern. You create a pattern. You see horizontally, I'm going to use RGB, 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 alternating RGB. This pattern will be alternating RGB, RGB. Next one you see, I'm going to start with B. So BRG, 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 it goes on the second row. Third row, I'm going to start with GGBR, GBR, GBR. So ultimately RGB only. I'm going to rotate and think. So first column, if you see, it is RBG. Second column is GRB. Third column is BGR. Either you can identify this by row wise or you can identify it by column wise. So both are easy only to decode. So here we are doing it by column. So if you see by column, you see RBG, GRB, BGR. Okay. And this is called as mosaic. The array design is simple. Fabrication is difficult because I need to place alternative RGB pattern. Circuit driving is also complex because I have to search for all the red and give connection. I have to search for all the green and give connection. I have to search for all the blue and give connection. But color combination is very good because you have a pattern developed here, right? The color combination is very, very good compared to the previous stripe design. Mosaic design offers a very good color combination and color mix. The resolution is also very good. And last one is delta. Delta is it's not a matrix arrangement. You have some slight gap between the thing. RGB, the pattern is going to be RGB only, but see here, the you have the everything, all the pixels, all the elements are not in a straight line. So the first row you see RGBR, second row you see B starts from half of R and goes till next half of G. So they are shifted by half of the mosaic unit. Second, third one as usual. Fourth one slightly shifted. Fifth one as usual. So you can see the pattern RB, RB, R. So GR, GR, G. BG, BGB. So you, if you can traverse in a zigzag way, you can find out the pattern. So you see R, B, R, B, R, G, R, G, R, G, B, G, B, G, B. So this pattern vertically column wise, if you travel, you can identify the pattern. The array design is completely complex because you have to shift the array unit slightly inside. Circuit application is difficult. Drive circuit is simple. Okay, so, and finally, color mix is best. So among the three categories of color array organization, the third one provides the best color mix and resolution, but it is complex in designing and difficult to fabricate. See, some you cannot arrive at the best color mix using the simplest of design and simplest of fabrication. The first case, you see everything is simple, but the color mix is very poor. Second case, the circuit design is simple, but the fabrication is difficult and drive circuit is complex. But the color combination, what you color mix, what you get is very good. But the last case, driving circuit is simple, fabrication is difficult, array design is complex, but the best color combination you have from this. So you have to compromise either on the design or on the fabrication or on the drive to get your resolution. So if the application requires very poor, medium to poor resolution, you're going to go for stripe type. For high resolution images, you have to go for delta. For medium resolution images, you have to go for the mosaic type of color array organization. Okay, you have to do it this way. So color pixel and LCD devices. So you have color filter. So when you have this backlight spectra. So when the backlight is going to be entering entering this color filter. So it is a filter, so it is going to filter the blue. So remaining colors will be let out. Okay, the color filter will split the available band into different colors. For example, this is the backlight spectra. You have this color filter will have response like this BGR. So it is going to allow only the three colors to pass through. So if after passing through the color spectra, you will get blue, green, and red separately. That is available. Filter is a thing which is going to filter the unwanted signals and allow only the required signals, right? So our required signals are only red, green, and blue. So I'm going to allow them. So that is the purpose of using a color filter. So the calibration issues we have in CRT, the calibration issue is very, very less. But in here, the calibration issues are more. In LCD, the calibration issues are more because I'm going to work with capacitor and the switches, right? So if they are not properly tuned to the working of LCD, so you have some issues in where an element has to be glowing, it will not glow. So where the element has not to glow, there the element will be glowing. So sometimes wrong thing is possible. Okay, so wrong glowing of the pixels are possible when the calibration of LCDs are not done properly. Also, I told you the reason voltage will determine the orientation of the crystals. So the crystals are not oriented properly. So how much amount of voltage or current you give has to be altered. Okay, so that is there. So that compared to CRT, we will not have that issues. But in LCD, we'll have all these issues cropping up. Okay, because it all depends on the liquid crystal. And this is for the RGB. For the RGB, what is the radiance you have in the liquid crystal? So first one is going to be blue. It is going to be blue color. Next one is going to be green, and last one is going to be the red color. Okay, blue is close to 450, green is 550, and red will be 600 to 700 is going to be different shades of red. And if you are going to digitally count the data, how much luminance can be provided by the LCD. So that is given. Luminance is given in candelas per meter square. So the unit of luminance is candela. Means it is derived from the term candle. A candle provides light; it makes the room bright, right? So that is going to be the unit for luminance. So how much brightness is there per unit area? So it is candelas per meter square. So when you open up an LCD, you can see this just like they are breaking the LCD and unused LCD or the one which is not working, and they are seeing what all the components are present inside the unused LCD. Unused LCD. So you have a light guide panel, you have a light source, you have an X address and Y address. So it's a matrix, right? So to see which LCD should turn on and turn off, we'll be using X address and Y address. So that is going to be a grid configured LED. So it will be configured by the grid. So we have seen in the previous case, right? So different types of thing. This one passive and active. So in passive you have a grid connection, matrix connection, but in active you have individual connection to each display elements, right? The same thing is done here. So here you have X address and Y address. So X address is going to be for the horizontal and Y address is going to be for the vertical. So I'm going to use a grid for making glowing the LED, LCD. Okay. Reflective color displays. So we have seen that we are not going to produce light in LCD. We are going to reflect the light, or we are going to make the light not pass through. Okay. So backlit LCD. So backlit LCD means I'm going to illuminate the LCD from the back side. So if the LCD is proper, means the it will allow light to pass through. If I am going to apply voltage, means even the backlight will not be able to pass LCD. The reflective LCD means I will have an absorber at the back side and I'll be illuminating the LCD from the front side. So LED will be lit through a bulb from the front side. So light will go, and depending on the operation of LCD, the light will either penetrate or it will be reflected back. Okay, so it backlit means the LCD will be allowing the light to pass through reflective LCD means either the light will be allowed. If it is allowed means it will be absorbed on the back side or it will be reflected in the front side. The backlit, so if you see the power consumed by backlit LED, it is 2.6 watt for backlight, grayscale, controller, data drivers, and scan drivers. So depending on various split up, this power split up. So totally you consume 2.6 watt for a backlit LED, but it is only 1.2 watt for a reflective LCD. Okay, reflective bistable combination of both, it will be in the order of milliwatts. But the thing is, it is unstable. It is unstable. Okay, so LCDs naturally have a very low power consumption because we are not producing light. So producing light requires a constant DC voltage, and we are not producing light, so they consume low power and they have a very low weight, naturally adaptive to changes in ambient illumination, and they change themselves in the depending on the ambient change in the brightness. Okay, they change, adapt themselves. You'd have seen the cooling glasses, right? So when you are inside a room, they will be transparent. As you go out, the glasses will slightly become black in color, so which will provide cooling effect to your eyes, right? Same thing here. So they can change. They are adaptive to changes in the ambient illumination. So the illumination inside the room, if that is going to change, then the LCDs will also start behaving in a different way. And finally, you are going to have a low cost. So nowadays LCDs are manufactured on the silicon substrate. So they are not called as LCD. They are called as LCOS, crystal crystals on silicon. So the lower base is going to be silicon, and we are going to use this on a CMOS substrate. So you take a CMOS substrate, you take a CMOS is complementary metal oxide semiconductor. It is a type of MOSFET transistor. Okay, so you take a CMOS and above that you have a reflective coating, and there in between the layers you will be having the liquid crystals. You will have transparent electrode and cover glass, and you have polarizer. So instead of crystals and electrodes sandwiched between the polarized glass plates, in LCOS, devices are coated over the surface of a silicon chip. So the crystals are placed on the surface. Usually, the crystals will be placed between the glass and crystals, the electrodes and glass plates. Usually, the crystals are between the electrodes and glass plates only in conventional LCD design. But in LCOS design, you have one side only, you have glass and electrode. Other side, we don't have glass and electrode. We are going to have what is called as a CMOS substrate. So CMOS is taken and reflective coating is done. And above that, you are going to load your crystal. Above that, you will be having electrode and glass. So this is somewhat they differ in the construction LCOS. Okay. So the electronic circuits are etched onto the chip, which is coated with an reflective surface. Polarizers are in the light path before and after the light bonds of the chip. You know what happens when the crystal is on and off. When the crystal is on means it will block light. When the crystal is off means it will allow light. So you can have polarizers on the way of light to see whether light is into the crystal or that's bouncing away from the crystal. The advantage of conventional advantage what these LCOS offer over conventional LCD display is easier to manufacture. So because we have CMOS substrate technology is available easily, the technology is available to us for fabricating CMOS. Our opposite CMOS, we are just going to add the crystal and the two more layers. So that is going to be simple to manufacture, very high resolution because you can have several million pixels etched into a small chip, and it can even be made smaller and smaller due to technology. So these are the advantages of using LCOS technology. So the advantages is easy to manufacture, very high resolution, and it can be even more made much smaller. Okay, so this is the two types of displays available in LCOS. One is near to eye viewer. So you have a viewing point. From here you have to view. You have a magnification lens, mirror analyzer, three color switching LED. So this LED will be switching into red, green, and blue alternatively. So the light will come and fall on the mirror. It will hit the LCOS chip and it will be available to the viewpoint. So near to eye viewer. So this is near to eye viewer. So this is placed in an inclined position to reflect the light So the light coming from LED will be referred into the LCOS chip and it will be going straight into the viewpoint. For that purpose only, we have this mirror analyzer and you have a filter. So this filter you will allow only a particular color. It is going to block the remaining colors. And next one is the projection color wheel method or projection display. So light source you have filter, color wheel, everything. You have 1/4 lambda of it, and LCOS chip is placed in an inclined way. The light falling on the LCOS chip will be available for the projection. Okay, it is just for magnifying your image and projecting the image to maybe on a wall or in a big screen. You can go for these two. This one is a very short distance viewer, near to eye viewer, but this can be a long distance. So it can project the image to a longer distance. So it's a projection display. And LCD, the LCOS, see the display is very clear. So they are projecting a photo. It is very clear. Okay, and very very small but be magnified via either a virtual imaging system or just like in your mobile phones, we try to zoom it, right? That is not possible in LCOS. The displays are very very small. You have to magnify them manually, or you have to use another virtual imaging system to magnify, or you can project them onto a wall and see the magnified version. You cannot magnify the images directly, which is available on the LCD displays, LCOS displays. Okay, so and this is the even TV projections have L, even even TV projections have LCOS displays, head mount displays, all these will have LCOS. Nowadays, the LCDs was famous initially, then came LEDs. Now we are again going back to LCDs in a more advanced way for all those displays. So we are going to do that for all those displays. And we have the small micro display viewfinder. You can see the uh, you can probably see clearly what is available ahead of you. So all these are technologies are available, and we have seen in depth about LCD today. The LCD, see, remember the basic thing is going to be the pneumatic twisted pneumatic crystal. So this diagram should be making things clear for you. So as you have the pneumatic crystal, I am not applying any voltage. The crystals are twisted and they allow the light propagation to happen. When I'm going to apply a particular voltage, these crystals are oriented and they will be opaque to the light. This is a simple working principle of any LCD. So that is used everywhere in all the LCD systems, and we have seen the different organization, and we have seen the color displays also, how much power they occupy. And the latest technology is liquid crystals on silicon, LCOS technology, where you are going to have a CMOS, a substrate, and above which you are going to grow your liquid crystals. For that, and the two projection display, you have a near eye viewer and projection display, and finally the magnification is not possible. You have to magnify them using a virtual imaging system, or you have to use a projection imaging system for magnifying. And finally, the applications it is used in rear projection TV, head mount displays, and micro displays and viewfinder. So it is finding applications almost in all the fields nowadays.